What's going on, people? It's Mr. back again with something different. As everyone knows, that I did my Nottingham Forest and Umar live stream on Thursday, but I've got a different kind of thing today. We're talking about Nottingham Forest and Olympiacos relationship, and I got a special guest in Olympiacos fan Stephen. How you doing?
Hi, man. Thank you so much for having me on. This is going to be a very interesting discussion, I think, about. I've never had the opportunity to talk to a Nottingham Forest fan about the relationship that's recently come up between Olympiacos and you guys. So it's going to be interesting.
But yeah, like I said, so much to talk about. In the comments, if there's anything that you like to ask Stephen, put in the comments below. If you are new to my stream, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new, and if you do want to ask a question and I miss it, if you do want to support the channel, put a super chat as well. So myself or the question could be to Stephen, put it in below. So Stephen, where should we start? May 2017. But before we do start, like, he's an Olympiacos fan, but he's from London, but he knows a lot about Olympiacos, don't you?
Yeah, so I come from Greek Cypriot kind of background. My family from both sides of my parents are from Cyprus originally. And I was born in Enfield, North London, where you'll get a lot of Greek Cypriots around that area, like kind of Southgate, sort of, Enfield, Oakwood area, up to Potter's Bar. You get loads of Greek Cypriots up there, and
Yep.
And yeah, it came around a time when I was looking, like, a lot of people do with soul searching in terms of your ethnic identity, and at the time I'd start to just fall in love with football at the age of 16 after watching Greece play in the Euros and watch.
When they won it, was that when they won it?
No, it was in 2012. That was the first time I watched Greece play. The thing that captivated me was when the captain at the time, Giorgos Karagounis, scored the winning goal against Russia to take them through to the round of the quarterfinals against Germany.
Yep.
And it was something that I couldn't. That was like the first rush for me, and I was like, "Wow, like this is actually amazing." And so I started sorting after a team to support, because I supported Greece. I support Cyprus as well, because you can have two national teams sometimes. And I had options. Being from Enfield, it's a Spurs area anyway, but my dad's a massive Spurs supporter, always has been. And then my family you're either Spurs or Arsenal. And ultimately, I chose neither. I went very left field and was like, I'm going to go for the best team in Greece, and the most coveted team in Greece. So I chose Olympiacos. And ever since like 2012, I've been following them, getting to know the team more in terms of my knowledge of them, the history, to the best of my knowledge, and just watching some great successes, some disappointment on occasion, but I can't really complain considering how many titles we've won. So
loads.
Yeah, loads. A lot more. I think we have the 7th most titles of any football club in the world. So that's something, I guess.
So where should we start? So as everyone knows, Evangelos Marinakis, he owns Olympiacos and Nottingham Forest, and I just thought get Stephen to get his opinion on the owner. And in May 2017, he brought Nottingham Forest. So what was your opinion when he did buy Forest?
It was interesting. I think when you look back at what other things that had happened before the initial kind of buying of Nottingham Forest, you could see it was interesting, because I look back and I think, you know what, a couple of our players would go to you afterwards, or we would get you on occasion. I don't know if that's an actual link, but I just remember seeing certain players coming and going between us and Nottingham Forest at the time.
It was. Oh, you know what it was? It was. Who did we have? We had.
Andreas Bougalakis you had. I don't know if that was after Marinakis. That was before.
That was after. That was after, because there was two players before that. Who was it? It was Algerian. People in the comments, can you remember who it was? Raki Jabeur?
Yeah, Rafik Jabeur. Yeah,
Rafik Jabeur. That's who it was. Rafik Jabeur. And
what a player!
who's
What
the
a
other
player he
one? Who's the
was.
other one? The Algerian left winger. He was
Abdoun.
terrible. Abdoun. That's who it was.
Yeah, he was
We
all right
had
for us actually. He was quite decent. He had a good spell with us. Yeah, I remember they both went to Forest, I think, afterwards, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then up post Marinakis buying you guys, I thought, oh, surely there must have been a connection there before.
because what it is, I've done my research today about Marinakis, and like I said, them two players, they signed for Forest before he brought him, didn't he?
Yeah, way before.
Way before. And I think we had another player before that as well, but I forgot his name now. But yeah, it's like what like so carry on about the situation. What was your opinion on when he brought
It was
Forest?
interesting because it was, I think, in Greece, Marinakis is a very divisive character. He's been accused of a lot of things with regards to bribery,
We've heard
corruption.
it. We've heard it all.
Criminal organizations in terms that one of his shipments got found with quite a bit of cocaine, if I recall correctly. So there's a lot of things that have been he's been accused of. He's never been officially found guilty of any of these charges, especially match fixing events that happened most recently that got brought up again. I believe it was like midway through last season. So he's been acquitted of everything. He was, I believe, briefly banned from all footballing activities. And then obviously that ended the moment he started going in for you guys and buying Forest. And yeah, it was weird. It was a really weird thing to see Marinakis going in, and people wondered if he would get the licensing from the FPL to actually buy you guys, and lo and behold, he did. And it was quite. I think it then started to a lot of fans started to wonder, are his focuses on Olympiacos going to waver somewhat now because he's owning a championship club, a very historical championship club, who ultimately have aspirations to return to the Premier League in the first division. Are we going to become the feeder club? Are you going to become the feeder club? This and that. Who's a bigger club? It became quite a debate amongst fans. But I think as time has gone on, it's kind of the relationship has just continued to warm. I don't really see a lot of Olympiacos fans being opposed to the fact that he owns another club. I think we as fans welcome it. We kind of see you guys as like the sister club in a way. Like you're our sister club. We're because
Sorry, Steve. It was weird because I'll mention it later on. Like I went to when Forest played in Olympiacos. Last season before the season started. It was strange because, like I said, when I went outside the stadium, the fans still, the ultras, as I'm about to tell you later on, they're a bit mad. They're crazy.
They're mental. They're
mental. And there is a few fans knew who I was. That DoreOnTour. Like I was like, it was mad. But yeah, it's weird. Like I think because people used to say Marinakis was now he's brought Forest, he's going to pay attention to Forest Olympiacos, but that's not the case, is it?
No, I mean, at first it certainly a lot of people felt that way because the season preceding him buying Nottingham Forest was the 17-18 season, and Olympiacos performed really poorly with regards to the league. We finished third place. We lost the title quite comfortably to Athens. We went behind Bark. We didn't win the Greek Cup. We got knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage, and we finished fourth, which is something that hasn't really happened. And it was a quite alien thing for us to happen because if we would tend to finish third and qualify for the Europa League round of 32, or if we get lucky, get to the round of 16, which hasn't happened for a very long time now. So in that sense, around that season, I remember there being a lot of. It wasn't a majority of fans; it was a very small minority of fans, kind of wondering, this must be him, kind of diverting all of his attention to Forest now, rather than diverting attention to the club. And that wasn't the case ultimately, because ultimately he came back to the club. He's a huge Olympiacos fan from birth. Like he's a Piraeus boy, born and bred, and he just, I think he fined the players. Towards the end of the season, when everything was done and dusted with regard to the title, he was like, right, goodbye. We're going to play under 21 for the rest of the season now. And lo and behold, he did. A lot of the players got axed. I think we got rid of like 26 players or something. It was ridiculous.
Bloody hell, did it?
We over that period, we got rid of so many players. And there was a massive overhaul of that in that season as well. But then the season following, so many players left, so many. And then we went through 3 managers. it was crazy. It was a crazy season. It wasn't. I personally look back and laugh because it was so bad. But at the time, it was dreadful. Like you never knew if we were going to win, if we were going to lose, how badly we'd play. And we were just a laughing stock, and all the non-Olympiacos fans loved it because everyone who's not Olympiacos hates us. Yeah. So yeah, but after that, I think once he made it clear that he was putting attention to us as well, things started to kind of warm, and there hasn't really been anything with regards to like any animosity towards you guys, and I think it helps that. Well, I mean, I was going to say it helps that you're in a different league. It's illegal to own two clubs, two Greek clubs when it comes to the Greek Football Federation. Another controversy that came up about a season or two ago with a different owner.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really, I think it's a cool relationship. It's almost like with, the owner of Udinese and Watford. It's almost like that.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting relationship we have.
As well, I think Forest they brought in quite a lot of people from Greece. Like they brought in the CEO, Leonis Petros.
Yes.
And as people in the comments will know, he's been given loads of stick, a lot of stick at Nottingham Forest. When he was at Olympiacos, what was it like? I just don't understand what was he okay at Olympiacos?
I mean, he must have done an okay job because, if I'm honest, the loudest fans would complain about him. But from what I mean, I'm talking from somebody who reads a bit about the people who work behind the scenes, but not to a huge extent. But I mean, I don't recall. Maybe Olympiacos fans who would listen afterwards to say otherwise, but from my knowledge, I don't think he did anything hugely wrong. I mean, otherwise Marinakis would have sacked him. So
it's just like I heard like so much rumors. Like when I went to Olympiacos, and I said there's some good fans. I still speak to quite a few Olympiacos fans on social media, and there was a few said he was a hooligan, and Marinakis wanted to get rid of him because he had so much dirt on him. So before brought Forest, and they sent him to Forest so he's out of Marinakis' shadow. So is any of this true? Do you know?
I have no idea, and to be honest, like I said, with Marinakis, if Marinakis doesn't like you, why would he keep him on to take charge of his other football club? You know what I mean? I don't really see how that's logical, but I mean, for all we know, that could be true. There must be some semblance of truth in that, but yeah, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. It's a strange thing, but then when it comes to football, people like to theorize and make up these sort of conspiracy theories, and because the most obvious answer seems to be the most illogical for some people.
Well, so let's talk about players because, as you know, as Forest fans would know, we've had so many players come from Olympiacos on loan, and I can mention loads of them: Boukilakis, Cafu, Guerrero, Kareem. Is it Kareem? Stafford, the goalkeeper Stefan Copino, and the guy that came to Nottingham Forest didn't make a single assist, but then we sold him for $500,000 to, I don't know, it was Kiev, is it Pinakis, Tiakis? I can't pronounce his name now. Where he was. What players that would go at Olympiacos? Because the only decent player that has come to Nottingham Forest is, well, maybe Cafu, but the rest, useless.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would say that, well, I mean, a lot of Olympiacos fans would say Andreas Boukhalakis is probably the other one that probably was most successful. I mean, you guys can disagree with me. I remember him early on in that domestic season. I think he performed quite well. He scored a few goals for you, and then after that, it kind of dried up, and he lost his place.
He played one good game, and that was against people. Forest fans will know in the comments the two stunning goals against Brentford, great goals as well. And since then, we didn't hear him. And the worst thing about it, and this is my opinion, Forest fans will know, when he went back to Olympiacos, Forest didn't announce it, saying he's gone back because we thought it was a permanent signing. But but
that was a weird one because we were under the impression that it was a loan at first. Then it turns out it was a free transfer, and then he came back, and we were like, okay, is the loan ended? No, it's not a loan; it's a signing again. You're as miffed. I'm as miffed as you, to be honest. It was a weird.
I was confused. Like Forest, they didn't announce it at all. Like he's left.
Yeah.
The next time we knew, like I think it was. I think I remember his last game. He done a terrible miss, and then soon he'd gone back to Olympiacos. I'm thinking, what? Like
it was weird. It was really odd. Yeah. He's an interesting one, Bourgalag. I think the thing with him is a lot of managers have kind of had him in their squad, and they're not quite sure how to properly utilize him because. I remember early on before he joined us, when he was in the lower leagues, he primarily was deployed as a number 10.
Yeah.
But then when he came to Olympiacos, he was deployed more as a 6. But he's not hugely creative as consistently as then he got deployed as an 8. Wasn't seen as hugely productive as a box-to-box player. He then went back a bit more as a 6, but then he's not defensive enough. And it's only now this season that we're starting to see the best of Bourgalag. Like he's almost like a hybrid of the two, of a 6 and an 8. Whenever he's played, he's tended to play in a midfield 3 with Jan and Villa, who's the true number 6, Madi Camara, who's the true number 8, and then Bourgalag is doing a bit of both, like helping a bit with the defensive work, but then also he scored a few fantastic goals for us this season. So he has been able to create some goals as well. So he's a weird one. He's a very weird player, but he started to find his feet with us only now. I mean, again with Cafu, like some fans are even wondering why we got rid of him. Some fans didn't. Some fans didn't really rate him.
I think with Cafu, like I said, when he came to Forest, like Forest fans yet again, we will say, not another player from Olympiacos, not another one. Because, like I said, as people in the comment section, what player from Olympiacos has been successful? Because I can't, like Cafu, I think he played one decent game against Kountourou, and that was 0-0. And he's slowly getting his form a little bit better. Not fantastic, but it's okay. And as you know, we signed him as a permanent. I don't know if you know, a permanent thing, and I'll be surprised if he goes back to Olympiacos. And again, because that's what I don't get with both clubs. Like with Bourgalag, as I just mentioned, he went back to Olympiacos without Forest announcing it, and Cafu, I'll be surprised if Cafu won't go back to Olympiacos. But
I think sometimes it's and this is no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, you or any of the fans. I think, despite the Greek Super League not being touted as a very valuable or high league to play in, to play for Olympiacos is quite a big deal because that's a gateway into playing it for Europe. So if you can prove yourself within 6 games of the group stage of the Champions League or in the Europa League, you'll get more of a profile, I guess. You get more of a kind of, if you perform well, people will see you and then people will value you higher and then you will go to a bigger club for bigger money. We have been used to a stepping stone club before, and that's understandable, and that's just a model that we have adopted. And maybe when you've played a season at Olympiacos and you have the opportunity to play in the Champions League and then you go to Nottingham Forest, despite the Championship being a fantastic league, it's a fantastically competitive league, and it's probably, I think it is the highest ranked second division in Europe, which is excellent. It's an excellent quality league. But I think it, unfortunately, at the end of the day, it is the second tier of a major league, and I think maybe people want to play in the first division with another team to maybe push for Europe or just be in a high profile league, which isn't really a fair assessment of Forest or the Championship, because as I said, the Championship is a very hard league to play in, and I think you have to have some real grit to play in the Championship. And I think maybe certain players have gone to Forest and haven't really had what it takes to play there.
It's like the comment here from
Miguel Angel Guerrero.
Yeah, Guerrero, like he come to Forest, and again we thought striker, another love from Olympiacos, and he played one decent game. And I remember on social media, Twitter was saying, "Oh, fantastic player, number 10, you can play that role," and then disappeared. And what was he like at Olympiacos?
We signed him.
1 minute. I remember. I don't know if you remember this. You know when Olympiacos played Forest and we beat 3-0. If people want to see the vlog, the link is below, so you can watch the vlog. And he scored. And I remember he absolutely battered Forest, absolutely hammered Forest. And then we signed him, and then comes to Forest, absolutely useless. So what was he like at Olympiacos?
I remember he signed in 2018, and I think he's one of those players that is so frustrating because he could do everything as a forward, as a footballer. He could do everything. He was great with link-up play. He was great at playing people off. He was great as being almost a shadow striker. But when it came to consistently scoring, Guerrero just, even in the Super League, he wasn't quite there. Like he couldn't quite do that. And so you never know what Guerrero you got. One game you get the Guerrero, as you spoke of, against you guys in the preseason, who was phenomenal. But then the next game he would just be anonymous, and it's just that inconsistency is ultimately what led him to leave Olympiacos in the first place. And then, oh yes, that's it, Ansarifard. Yeah, I remember Ansarifard. That's him.
Well,
I love Ansarifard.
This is the thing, right? I remember him because what game was it?
Yeah.
Last game, I think. Was it the last 3 or 4 games? It was under, I don't know if you know, Martin O'Neill.
I remember. You hardly had him at your club, didn't you? He was barely there.
We had him for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I think one game that he scored the last 2 games, I think. And he, to be fair, he played all right. And I was surprised that he left, like he went to was it Dubai? I think he went to Dubai.
He went to Dubai, and now he's back in Greece. He's with Athens. He's with.
Is it?
Yeah, and he's excellent. I think that's one of the players that I wish we hadn't got rid of, because despite having a really terrible 17-18 season, he was one of the only good bits of it. I think he scored like 17 goals in the league, and he was great. Like he was a really, really impactful striker. But for some reason, I don't know. He just, I don't know if did he go directly to Forest afterwards? Yeah,
he went there. He was at Olympiacos, went straight to Forest.
Yeah, and then he went to the Middle East. Yeah, it was weird because he proved himself. He was one of the only players that proved himself that season to be like capable of playing for Olympiacos and having as far as I'm aware, a good attitude. So the fact that he went to Forest, it was strange. It was a really strange move. But I liked him. I wish he wasn't at a rival club. I'm happy with the strikers we have currently, but it's a shame. It's one of those players that I wish we'd kept a bit longer.
I said there's quite a lot of players. We mentioned Glakis, Cafu, Guerrero, Astafar. You said that when I mentioned that the Greek goalkeeper, Stefan Campion.
Oh, Stefanos Capino.
He was a goalkeeper. What game was it? I think it was the last game of the season against Bolton, and I thought he was. I thought he was all right, but then he actually lost it last game of the season. But what was he like at Olympiacos?
Exactly the same. He came from the Panathinaikos academy, which is hailed as one of the best in Greece. You know, Panathinaikos are famous for their youth players. He kind of took up the mantle after Orestis Ganezis left, who was one of their most excellent Greek goalkeepers. I believe he went to Udinese actually from there. And so Capino came in, filled the role, and I can't remember when along the line we signed him, but I think he decided to agree to leave mutually and then sign for us. And it was interesting because he was kind of in the fold for the Greek national team at the time. He had a lot of potential as a goalkeeper, and he started okay. He had one season, I think, where he played for us fairly consistently. It was okay. He was replacing a very good goalkeeper in Roberto, who West Ham fans will remember as one of their worst ever keepers, but he was pretty good for us for the most part. And the game that really killed his career with us was a game in the league against Athens, when halftime we went 2-0 up, and we thought, right, okay, cool, we're going to win this game. We're comfortably in ahead. And then a lot of errors involving Capino led to us losing the game 3-2. And from there, he just wasn't trusted after that. And he was exiled from the team completely. Like he was just full on, I think he trained by himself. He then left the club, and and that was kind of sort of almost, it's sadly the end of his career in a way, at that kind of level. And yeah, it's a shame. I think he's now in like the German second division, playing for like a lower league club. Yeah, he's in the second Bundesliga.
Well, he comes to Forest, and another, like, it's weird because when we get players from Olympiacos, like he's Werder Bremen, I think he plays for, and
he was at Werder Bremen,
and we sold him for 1 million, and I think this I'm not. Let me try and be positive about this CEO, because, like I said, he's had so much negativity at the club, and we're getting players from Olympiacos, and then we're selling them for profit. It's like with the other player, I can't pronounce his name. Let me write down his name, because
I'll recognise it.
You'll recognise it. But yeah, we sell players for sorry, it's come on my nose now. Who he is? But yeah, we sell players, and then we sell them on good money. But I will write this down. But there's players that has left Nottingham Forest to Olympiacos, and I'm going to start with Soudani. Can you remember Soudani?
Yeah, he only left recently. Soudani,
that's what happened to my research today. He left as well, didn't he? So did Soudani do anything successful at Olympiacos?
Yeah, he was really good for us, actually. I think first he struggled to get into the team at first, and he wasn't put in our European squad either for the Champions League, which ultimately was a bit of a shame, because he then started to pick up loads of form. He was a really good utility man for us, almost. Oh, Daxidis, I know Daxidis. Yeah. Because
like,
it's dreadful. He's one of the worst Greek players I've ever seen play for us.
Like, the worst thing about him, this player, because like I don't know if you read in the article, he cried. I've read it was in the Athletic. He cried when he comes to Nottingham, and he never played for Nottingham Forest. He never. And then we sold him to Italian club, Lecce.
Yeah, Lecce. Yeah, he's in Lecce.
And then again, we're getting these players like from Olympiacos. I'm like, we're thinking, who is these players?
Sorry, you've had some terrible players. I'll get to Daxidis in a second. With Soudani, he was interesting because he could play as a winger, but he could also play as a second striker for us, and he did that at times. We sometimes would deploy him next to our current striker, Yusuf El Arabi, and as almost like a shadow striker. And he was brilliant.
Can Forest give us? We'll have him. I don't mind.
Yeah, you can have him. And when he gets maybe you never know what happens. It's with Olympiacos, Marinakis in Greek football. Who knows? But Soudani was brilliant. Like I think he went through that second third of the season. He was scoring consistently, creating great goals. He was then finally put into our European squad for when we faced Arsenal in the round of 32. And then he got his long-term injury, and he was out for ages. Like that was his season done. That
happened at Forest.
Yeah, he was injury prone.
Yeah, because he was at Forest. And to be fair to him, he started okay at Forest. And then,
that's what I heard as well.
Then he got injured against, who was it? Burton in a cup. It was a really bad injury. And he was out for long term.
Yeah, I think he tore his ACL with us, which is dreadful injury.
Did it?
Yeah, something like that. He was out for ages, and then he didn't come back until maybe early-ish this season, and he looked a bit not really at the running for a place, and then he started to get back in, and he slowly started to score goals again. You could tell his pace had gone a little bit, but he was still contributing. And then out of the blue in January, I think maybe in early January or very, very early February, I can't remember, his contract was terminated mutually, and he's now in Croatia, because I think he was really loved in Croatia when he was there, so he's returned there now. And it's a shame. He's one of those players that I think if he had stayed injury free, he'd be a fantastic rotation player, impact player for us. But he just didn't seem like he quite have it anymore, because that last injury, I think, just took a yard of pace off him, and it's a real shame. Whether he'd bring value to us now, I honestly don't know, because he's not with us anymore. But yeah, I think all the best to him. He did really well for us, actually. Soudani, in a short period he was there. He helped us win the title again. So I say much more about that.
And there's another player that Forest fans will know from last season, and Thiago Silva. And
yes, not the one you're thinking of.
Yes. So So Thiago Silva, he joined Nottingham Forest from Portuguese side, and if you look at it, I was happy because he didn't want to stay at Nottingham. He wanted to leave, and to be fair, I'm not going to lie. And if Forest fans disagree or agree with me, put in the comments below. I miss him. I think I miss him, but I was really critical about him, because like I said, he wanted to leave.
Like 4 goals for you or something. Like
4 goals, 4 assists, and that's why. And you always know the first season is going to be tough. When you're playing the Championship, it is really, really tough. And
yeah, of course.
And with Silva, Forest fans, put in the comments below. Do you miss Thiago Silva? If you do, yes or no. Like I said, if there's any questions to ask Stephen, put in the comments below, and we'll ask him away. Has he, since he's signed for your club, has he been successful? Because I know he played in the last game, didn't he?
Yes, he played against Larissa in the final regular game of the season. He's been a mixed bag, Thiago Silva. There's been moments where he's been really great, a really dynamic sort of playmaker, but then there are times where he does get lost in a lot of games, and I think because of his stature, he doesn't have quite the physicality sometimes to get past players. But, I remember he was very impactful on his debut. I remember he came on, I think with 5-10 minutes to go, instantly got an assist, and he was fantastic. It was great, to see a player who we didn't have a huge amount of expectation for, because he was seen as a squad player, and he kind of is for us a squad player.
Yeah.
Impact the game like that so quickly. And yeah, I think he's been good in drips and drabs, but overall he's been a bit of mixed bags. Yeah, like I said, he's mostly been deployed in whenever we've deployed him, it's been with a rotated side in more like a 4-4-2, where he's played more of a number 8 role next to Bugalakis or next to Jan and Via or whoever's playing there. Yeah. He's done okay. Yeah, he's not been fantastic, but some Olympiacos fans aren't too pleased with how he's performed. I think we could have worse. I think we had a player who we signed actually with a fee, which is sometimes almost unheard of with Olympiacos these days. Pepe from a mid-table Portuguese side, and there was a lot of more hype surrounded with him because of we signed him for 3.5 mil, which is not a huge fee for a player, but for Olympiacos, that is a fairly decent sized fee that you're paying for a player, and he just didn't impact at all. He was seen as a hybrid 8-6 as well, and he just didn't do anything. And so we sent him straight back out on loan to a Portuguese side. He just didn't seem very happy there. He never quite settled in. Whereas at least with Thiago Silva, he's shown enough about him that he's contributing to the side, and he's a solid addition to have if we need to rotate. So yeah, I'd say there's been a reasonable amount of success, but I think we'd like to see more of him. I think he gets that opportunity.
Yeah, I think if Forest fans agree with me, we expect, like I said, he was 4 goals, 4 assists, but we wanted better because with Silva, he is creative, and he'll pick up a pass out of nothing, like Carvalho that we'll mention in a minute.
Yeah.
Players like I said, I do miss him, but at the same time I don't, and it's just with Silva, I think right now, I think we need him because he's that type of player. Other question, let's see. This is another question.
Oh, there was Taxidis. There was Paniotis Taxidis.
Yeah, let's talk about him.
Oh God, he was awful. He's just a lump. He was an absolute lump. He came and you thought, oh yeah, great. This is a Greek signing. This kid's he's gonna do great things for the club, and it's great that we're signing domestic players. Because we need more. We like to have a nice mix of Greek, a nice mix of foreign. And he just didn't have any speed about him. He just didn't add much to games. He lumped around the pitch. He wasn't very mobile. He didn't really defend at all. So he was kind of just a carrier, and he was just kind of carried in the game most times. And he just wasn't great for us. And it's a shame because I want to see Greek players come back and play for Olympiacos, because they should know what it is to play for Olympiacos, and then encourage the younger players and be an example to them, and then show the foreign players who come in this is the team in Greece. You play for us. You play for the badge. You play well in the big games. You play well in Europe, etc., etc. And he just wasn't. Yeah, he just didn't do that, and it wasn't a surprise to me that he left. And I'm really sorry that he went to Forest. I don't know how he did that.
No, but he never played a game for Forest. He didn't play a game at all for Forest. And then,
yeah,
funny enough, then we hear he's gone to Italy.
He's gone to Lecce. Yeah.
Lecce, and
we got him from Italy. I think he came from Cagliari or something for us.
Oh, okay.
I think we
saw him for
a really small fee.
How much was it? $500,000. And we thought, that's the best thing you ever done at Forest. And this is where I'm trying to say, like, people in the comment as well, getting players for Olympiacos is like, are we just getting players that don't play for Olympiacos? Like you mentioned Bukalakis. Look at him now, Bukalakis. Is he the captain for your club now?
Yes, he actually is, yeah.
And that's the thing. Where was this? Like, this is where Forest fans are a bit baffled with, like, say, Cafu, he's slowly... What can I say?
Never got a chance really with us. There was a couple of times he was more of not really an impact player because he's quite slow. He was more of a player that would come in the last like 10, 15 minutes and just defend. And his most memorable moment, he scored a fantastic goal against Panathinaikos, which, you know, always gets you brownie points if you're an Olympiacos supporter, if you score against our biggest rivals. So there's that. But I think, and he was a Pedro Martins signing. Pedro Martins, our manager, specifically wanted him. But I guess either he changed his mind or he let Marinakis send him to you guys. I don't know. Yeah, it's a strange one, Cafu. I'm glad that he's found some semblance of form on occasion with you guys. I'm happy that he's helped you contribute somewhat to your season, despite, you know,
just a tad,
what's going on.
Tad.
Yeah.
He's been like, he's not like our season all around has been shocking. Been poor.
Yeah, poor. I've seen, especially after last season. I really wanted you guys to get to the playoffs. I really wanted Forest to go up.
It's just Cafu, like that season's been awful. But Cafu, like I said, I need something like we can always play for Olympiacos, and we need someone who, like I'm just mentioned the striker, like I thought he's fantastic for us. We need someone like him. Another question, like I said. There's been 75 players been linked to go to Olympiacos. I don't know if you know. There's players like Ribeiro, Federido, and I don't know if you know. He refused to go to Olympiacos.
Yes, I remember. That, and we were all just like, "Well, okay, stay at Forest then. We don't want you.
Yeah.
You don't want to come play for us."
I don't know. Like I said, the story. I don't know if people know. Quite a lot of Forest fans would know in the comments. The last day of transfer window. He meant to go into Olympiacos because I think he meant of they want to get rid. They want to get rid, and Ribeiro said, "No, I'm staying." What was your opinion on like players like Figueiredo? He didn't want to go to Olympiacos, and Ribeiro. What was your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, at the time, it seemed like an interesting signing. You know, we kind of, well, like you guys, we kind of expect maybe once in a transfer window we'll be linked to the Forest player / get close to signing one / sign one. And I think he would have been impactful to the team. But ultimately, if you don't want to play for a club, there's no point in you going because you're not going to be useful. You're not going to want to be there. You're not going to want to play there. And we saw this with Ruben Vinagre, who went to us on deadline day from Wolves on loan. And like everyone was like, oh, he's got a 22 million buyout clause. Like this guy must be good. Like he's going to be great. He's going to replace Dimikas, who went to Liverpool. Like, oh man, he's going to be fantastic. Dreadful because his attitude was like terrible, and he didn't want to be there. He didn't care that he was playing for a side that was competing in the Champions League or that was competing in Europe or competing for a league title. He wanted to play in a bigger league at a different team. So, you know, we cancelled it. His attitude was terrible. It was just the fact that Jose Holebas, who you remember from Watford, signed for us as well. 36-year-old left back was performing better than him. He wasn't doing as much in terms of his mobility because his mobility is basically gone now, but he was performing more than Vinagre was. Vinagre is a player with a huge, a lot of prospect and a huge amount of talent. And for him to kind of have that attitude, it stank. And it was just like, well, you know, we cancelled his loan. He's gone to some mid-table Portuguese side, so enjoy your time there.
There's quite a lot of comments regarding Vetras. Stephen doesn't know much about him.
No,
he doesn't know much
the more
about
you get, listen, honestly, the more you get kind of in depth with Greek football politics. It's just you don't know what's real and what isn't. Honestly, some of the conspiracy theory, like I could tell you so many. Like there's
Well, tell us. People want to know.
well, I mean,
Tell us.
where do I begin? Like so many non-Olympiacos fans will be like, "Oh, Olympiacos own the league. Like they own loads of teams. They're B, C, D, E, F, G sides. Like Aris, who are currently second in the Super League, who are PAOK's biggest rivals up in northern Greece. Like, oh, we own them because we send them players. They send us players. Oh, like they're helping each other out. Back payments and it's just is it true? Well, we haven't proved that it's true. So, as far as we're aware, that's not true. And, but I think people want to believe a lot of these theories because it's sort of their way of dealing with the fact that we're at the top and they don't like it.
What I do, right? Do you read Athletic?
I don't. And the reason being is because they don't have any Greek football related information on there. Otherwise, I would.
Okay, because what it is, like I said, like people, Forest fans will know in the comments. And there's an article, basically it's about him. And the things like as you know, like when the Greek method, when it comes to England, who's English fans won't like it. And I think the way he deals with stuff, it's not been right. And if I say to you, like, you've got to read it because it is really interesting.
I will give it a chance. I listen to a lot of their podcasts. Like I listen to Totally Football Show. I listen to like Tifo. I've listened to like 4 or 5 football podcasts. It's disgusting how much listening I had on Spotify last year. It was ridiculous.
Right. That's what I do. Right. I think after the stream, I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
I'm reading it because it is really interesting. It mentioned like I'm going to say it because it's out there anyway. Because I think Vetros is, like I said, the way he deals with stuff. Because Vetros has got his father-in-law at Forest now. He's a director.
Yeah, I just saw an article about that before I came on. I was like, that's the most Greek thing I've ever seen. Listen, it's all about. I mean, it's just the stereotype, isn't it? Like you get loads of Greeks. Oh, you're related. I give you a job. Like you can't work for me. Like you don't need to be qualified. It's such a Greek thing. I don't know if it's just a Greek thing because I think it's also about like who you know as opposed to what you know. But with Greeks, that resonates so much, and that stereotype I find hilarious. But at the same time, it's kind of true. Unfortunately,
it's like how can I explain it? It's like what's his name? What's the director's name? I don't even know his bloody name. Do you know his name?
Well, who?
The director of football at Forest. I've got his name.
I saw it just now.
People in the comments will know. Like. I think he was. What I heard, he was administrator at Olympiacos. I think he's Marinakis' stepfather.
Oh, the CEO.
No, that's Vetros, the director of football. People in comments, they'll know who he is.
Oh, Kyriakos Douregas.
That's who it is.
Canadian Greek. Yeah.
Well, this is it. Quick off. That's it. He was an administrator. At
he was administrator for us for 25 years. Yeah, so he did oversee a very successful period for us. Not to start with, but eventually, yeah, he helped bring in managers like Ernesto Valverde, Leonardo Jardim. Yeah, so he in that sense he was successful because he brought in it was I've just forgotten his name. Valverde, who obviously then went on to manage teams like Barcelona, and Valverde was crucial to revolutionizing Greek football in the early 2010s because he helped us take us into the 21st century in terms of our style of football. And then Leonardo Jardim, great manager, he was 12 points clear in the Super League midway through the season, and because we weren't playing the style of football that Marinakis wanted to see, he got the sack. And that's almost unheard of. We were undefeated as well. That's almost unheard of in football. That's how cutthroat Marinakis can be sometimes. And Marco Silva, obviously, Watford fans and Everton fans will know him as being quite an average manager, but we remember him because he gave us like the 3-2 win against Arsenal at the Emirates. We lost. I think we won 28 out of 30 games that season. We absolutely bossed the league. We had a really exciting team under Marco Silva, but obviously, as Marco Silva does, he doesn't stay a second season because he wants to he smells the money and goes to a bigger club, as it were. So yeah, and so we won a lot with this, with obviously this guy as our sporting director. And so yeah, so I say under him as sporting director, we've been reasonably successful. But you have to remember, it's Olympiacos, and we're even back in the 90s when we didn't win a single league title between 1980, I believe it was like 1986 and 1990. Well, no, 1985 to 1995, we won nothing league title wise. And so when he came in, he helped create a new dynasty, and we went on from like 96. We won everything up till 2004, and then again until 2010, and then again until 2018. So him leaving must have been a huge kind of thing to happen at the club, because after he left, we went apart for a couple of seasons. And again, like when you're managing the biggest team in a league, it must be different to managing. Obviously, Forest are a big team with regards to the championship, but they're not. I guess it's different in that sense because you're not seen as.
Be careful what you say, because Forest fans won't be happy what you're saying. Don't be careful.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Because he don't go for you. Don't say anything disrespectful about Forest.
Listen. I think that, just to quickly touch on this, when it comes to talking about which clubs are bigger than the other subjectively from different leagues, I think that's a very, very difficult topic. And I think
let's see what Stephen. In the comments, because I know I can see a few Olympiacos fans as well in his comments.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
There's quite a few. I can see a few. And who Forest fans will say Olympiacos? Forest fans will, I don't know. But I can see with Marinakis, right? Everyone says his baby is Olympiacos, and Forest is just a team that he's just there to. He's got a good heart because he spent money, and you can't deny him that. I think the frustrating bit with it is, like I said, I've mentioned on here about
spend the money
CEO.
in the right places.
Yeah, it's doing the right places. Like I said, he's building as a new main stand. That's not been done, but that's not his fault.
That's due to COVID, probably, isn't it?
No, it's not that. It's other stuff.
Oh, it's other circumstances. Okay,
that's why I sent you the link. You've got to read it.
Yeah, I'll read it. I'm interested now. I think Marinakis. I remember he came. Yeah, I think I even said it before. He came in like 2010. We just lost the title quite comfortably to Panathinaikos, and Olympiacos was struggling financially, and he kind of just cleared the debt, and he started to help rebuild, and that's when we went on that kind of success. Like I think we won 7 titles in a row, which is mad. Like it was crazy, and he oversaw a very successful period in Olympiacos, and so the fans love him. Like he can do no wrong to the fans. A lot of people would say otherwise. And even me, like, I don't love Marinakis. Like, I feel like maybe there's something there. Like, it's stereotypical, but he even looks like a guy that's a bit dodgy. Do you know what I mean? But like,
listen, Taylor, I'm not saying
no, I'm not saying anything either. But he has run this club fantastic. Like Olympiacos are a fantastically run club, and considering the downfall of the Greek economy and how that affected Greek football and how so many clubs have gone bankrupt. Like you look at Athens are like they're seen as the 3rd or 4th biggest club in Greece, and they went down to the 4th division because they were so riddled with debt, and they came all the way back up, and then they won. That's an amazing story, actually. You know, they came back up, won the title a couple of seasons later, and now they're like back where they were before. But you know, Olympiacos are one of the few teams that could arguably have been financially okay over that period and still be okay now despite COVID. And so for that, Marinakis has to be kind of given plaudits because he has run the club very well. It's just the problem is there's so much controversy when it comes to Marinakis as well. And I think he will eventually get it right with you guys. I think English football is a very different beast to Greek football. And, you know, I think he, like you said, I see the intent there as well. Like he clearly wants this club to succeed. You know, any owner would want their club to succeed and, like, you know, become a bigger club and with regards to how finances and go up to the Premier League, and obviously your finances expand then because you get the payment for going into the Prem. But it's just about, again, like we've said, putting the money whether in the right places. You know, not just signing. I mean, how many players did you sign in the summer? You signed
70
loads of.
No, signed since Marinakis has been at Forest. He's brought 7. 72 players he's brought in. People in the comments are right or wrong. I don't know if it is 72 players, but in the summer we brought in 14 players.
Yeah,
that was rushed to bring in, and
that the amount of players that you've brought in is almost. It's normal for Olympiacos because obviously with any title-winning side, sometimes you have to refresh, and sometimes there are places that you need reinvigorating. If there are older players who are kind of coming to the twilight of their career, or players that just haven't worked out. This in at times before Pedro Martins came in was fairly normal for Olympiacos. You would see like 4 or 5 players go out, and then like 6 or 7 players come in.
Yeah.
And you know, it was almost normal, and somehow it worked for a period until it didn't work. But now under Martins, like Martins has that authority where he says to Marinakis, like he gets the final say. Marinakis can agree a deal, no matter, but if it doesn't go through Pedro Martins and Pedro Martins doesn't want that deal, then it doesn't happen. Like for example, sorry, I'll let you speak in a second. So we were on the verge of re-signing like a very legendary striker for us, Kostas Mitroglou, who Fulham fans remember as being quite shit for them, even though he's injured. And he was on the verge of coming back to us because he hadn't played for ages at Olympique Marseille. We apparently the deal was agreed. He wanted to come back to us, but Pedro Martins, after careful review, obviously ultimately didn't go with Mitroglou. Because one of our strikers at the time had long COVID, which almost ruled out his entire footballing career, which would have been devastating. And so instead, he agreed very close to the end of the window to go to Aris, who are in northern Greece, and that was where like the whole thing of Olympiacos own Aris, they're letting Mitroglou go there instead. Like he'll go to Piraeus like in the summer or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's all rubbish, but. Yeah, there's that now, and maybe you need that authoritarian manager who has the kind of the guts to be like to say to him in a nice way, so he doesn't get the sack. I want this. I would like this player. I would like this kind of position to have players in, and the manager gets the final say. I don't know how Chris Hughton is doing. He's a safe pair of hands, and
the thing with Chris Hughton, like as you know, we've had past managers with Martin O'Neill, Samuel Lucci last season. And
Lucci as well, I remember Lucci.
And with, as I mentioned, the people behind the scenes. And I was about to touch on you about the Marinakis. He is ruthless.
Oh, ruthless. Absolutely.
Getting rid of managers. And I think Chris Hughton knows, like I mentioned with the director of football, if Hughton has to go to him, to get his players, you get him. And with Ventros, in the article, he gets the final say. We've got a chairman at Forest, but Ventros gets the final say of what happens. And with 14 players in, like we brought in players that are useless. Do you think with Marinakis' record, like Chris Hughton, like if Hughton doesn't do well, do you think he'll say, no, get rid of him?
It's hard because I would like to hope that Marinakis has become a little bit less trigger happy in the last couple of years. Obviously, you guys lost Lamucci fairly recently with regards to football. But I remember Pedro Martins' first season, we didn't win the title. And if you don't win the title at Olympiacos, normally that spells the end. But I think Marinakis, while he's trigger happy, he clearly saw a project being built there and knew that if he was to uproot everything that was being laid now, Olympiacos would still be in a mess. And he gave Pedro Martins, okay, you haven't won the title this season, but next season you have to win the title. And Pedro Martins did that very successfully. And so now it seems like that process was the correct thing to do. Maybe with Hughton, if he sees that Chris Hughton is kind of progressing the club in a good way, in a way that, even if you don't get promoted next season, if there is signs of progression that isn't good enough for Marinakis, maybe he'll stay. I think maybe that's where hopefully Chris Hughton keeps his job, because Chris Hughton has a proven track record of bringing teams up from the Championship. He's been great at doing that. So if you were to, it would be very silly of Marinakis to sack one of the few managers that are actually really good at doing that and making them a Premier League side. Whether Hughton can keep you guys in the Premier League. You'd have to get there first. But
we get there first.
I mean, whether Houghton can do that successfully is a different story. That's like football manager levels of like, who knows. But if that time ever came, we'll see. I mean, he kept Brighton up, but he still got the sack because Brighton nearly went down. But,
yeah.
So yeah.
Right. There's a question from Ben. I think we've mentioned this already. Can you ask Steve about Doom? What do you think of him when he was at Olympiacos?
Yeah, he was good for us, if I recall. I mean, if the Olympiacos fans in the chat disagree with me, then you disagree with me. But I remember
there was Olympiacos fan. He was my favourite player back in the day.
Yeah, like he was good for us. I think I kind of became an Olympiacos supporter sort of midway through him being at Olympiacos. I think I started supporting them around his final season, and he was always a good player for us. I think my big issue was that he was not giving minutes to, like, by him being in the squad, it was not giving minutes to Ioannis Fefatsidis, who was, like, at the time a huge prospect. He was seen as the Greek Messi. He was that talented, and obviously with that title comes pressure, and that pressure comes to not actually leading up to your full potential, which ultimately didn't happen with him, sadly. But Abdoun was great. Abdoun was great for us. I remember him very vividly being a solid player for us, and he linked up well with Jabor because they are both
used at Forest.
Jabor was a monster. He was absolutely brilliant for us. Like he
was rubbish for Forest.
I'm so sorry about Jabor.
Absolutely, the thing about on his debut, I think it was like, did he score? Technically, well, he crossed the line and they gave it him, but. Forest fans in the comments, can you remember Jabor?
I remember another player as well. I remember another one, Patiem Kasami.
Kasami?
Swiss midfielder.
He was at Fulham as well, wasn't he?
He scored he'll always be remembered for that fantastic goal he scored for Fulham. Yeah.
He was... Forest fans, can you remember him? In the comments, he didn't really do much for us.
He was okay for us. Bit inconsistent. He was a fan favourite because of his passion. I think he really, really cared about playing for Olympiacos, and he's one of those players that get linked with every summer transfer window. And I just think, is it actually going to happen? No, probably not. I'd maybe take him back. I mean, we've got fantastic midfield now, but at the time he did well for us. He normally performed for us quite well in Europe. So I'm not quite sure why we got rid of him. Maybe it was differences between him and whatever manager we had at the time. But I thought Kasami played okay for us. I don't know if he came... I mean, if he went to you guys immediately after coming to us, then that makes more sense.
No chance. Not happening.
Yeah.
So, last question, because we've been here for quite a while. This is a major question. Like, we consider... Marinakis, like I said, Forest fans I keep saying, like, he's more... If you see it on social media, he pays more attention to Olympiacos, to Nottingham Forest. Do you think there'll be a time that he's still in the Championship with Forest? Do you think he'll stay for a long haul? I think I will not leave Forest till we get to Premiership. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think he's one to give up on a project, and I think he genuinely believes that he'll eventually help get Forest into the Premier League again. And he's got the money, he's got the backing to do it. It's just whether he can, like we've said before, I've said it already, put the money in the right areas of the pitch, of the infrastructure of the club itself. And who knows? It'd be amazing to see Forest back, and I think that will be when Forest. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but if and when Forest finally become a Premier League team again, I think that will be the time where the tide will turn and we'll start maybe seeing more focus on Forest. I think he'll always have a focus on Olympiacos because Olympiacos is the club he loves, like the club of his heart. That is like Marinakis is a lifelong Olympiacos supporter. And so it must be a different feeling to manage a team like Forest because, yes, it's amazing to have a team, a former European champion, former league champion. There's so much history when it comes to Forest that any owner with a brain cell would be love to own Nottingham Forest. But I think it must be a different mentality there when looking at the two clubs because Olympiacos is like his heart club, whereas Forest is his head club. Like that makes financial sense. You have a sleeping giant in the second tier that you could potentially turn into a modern day sort of solid Premier League side to maybe more. Yeah.
There's a great question from Ben. Like I said, I was just mentioning Olympiacos is a big club for Marinakis. Do you think Forest will be a priority if we ever get promoted?
I think so, eventually.
Do you think?
Because I think there comes a certain time when Premier League, when you get to the Premier League, that's such a big league. Like, I mean, that's an understatement almost. The Premier League is probably the biggest club in the world with regards to, revenue, with regards to viewership. And I think it gets to the point where the amount of money that you can generate as a Premier League club, you do become a bigger club than some of the clubs that even compete in Europe. And I think if Forest can prove that they can stay up in the Premier League and become a solid Premier League side, I do think that the focus will eventually go to Forest in maybe not a hugely bigger way than it would Olympiacos, but maybe in a more balanced way. I think that would be a healthier way of looking at it. Yeah. I think he'll try and balance it a bit more, because Olympiacos would be the priority now, because Olympiacos not only aim to win the Super League every season, it's also the aim to compete in Europe. That we get most of our revenue. If you qualify for the Champions League, that's 30 million right there. And that's huge for Olympiacos. That sets us up for the whole season, and it set us up when we didn't have fans coming into the pit, into the ground. It's a huge parachute, a huge parachute payment for us. So yes, to answer short answer, I think so, and I would hope so as well, because Forest deserve a bit of love and care after many years of being in the Championship.
Question for you, another question, Steve. Before we do go, does Steve think he's the type of owner that will learn from his mistakes, etc.? Our transfer policy.
Again, I hope so. I cannot guarantee anything. I hope so. I think with any owner, it would probably be a circumstance of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And sometimes that's even the case with us. Like, sometimes you will get those throw at the wall players and see if they stick, sort of. And sometimes you can just tell when it's a Marinakis signing, because it just doesn't make any logical sense. Like, I remember we got in like Yacine Benzia, if anyone remembers Yacine Benzia. He was utterly dreadful. I think he was I think he played in the French league. I think he's a French player. Dreadful. He was so rubbish. He came out on loan, and it just didn't make any logical sense as to why. I mean, I guess it made a little bit of sense, because Kostas Fortounis, our talisman player, had an ACL injury, was out for the season. But then we had players to replace him, so it was just like, okay, why would you bring in Benzia then on a really expensive loan? And he was rubbish, so we got rid of him. And then same with, if anyone remembers it, him from FIFA, like Emre Mor, who was seen as this next great winger from Turkey. That was more of a circumstance of him not getting a look in, but it was a waste of money because we loaned him in and he was just dreadful. So sometimes Marinakis will make a signing that you just look at and you're like, what on earth is this?
There's been a few.
And unfortunately there's been a lot more for you guys than in recent times than has been for us.
There's been a lot this season for Forest. Comments below. Who do you think is the worst sign under Marinakis? I think, like I said, we've had 79 players since he's been.
I mean, you could probably pick 2/3 of them, like maybe more.
People in the comments, who's the worst player that since Marinakis has took over Forest? Who do you think the worst player is? Put in the comments below.
I'd hope that he starts to get them more right than he doesn't. And there's every possibility that, and you have to remember, Marinakis does want you guys to succeed. He's not going to just have you as this kind of toy like he has in the Championship and just kind of be like, oh yeah, I know, I own Forest now, just because. He wants to make money from you guys, but he also wants you guys to succeed, and those two things can marry very well, especially if you're in the Premier League. He will make a lot of money by you guys eventually being in the Premier League.
Question from Ben. Ask Steve if you can have food toss.
You guys were linked to Fortounis.
We've been linked with everyone. We've been with every single Olympiacos.
I'm really sorry, guys, but under no circumstances are you getting Kostas Fortounis from us. He is a generational talent for Greece. He is, in my opinion, I mean, some people disagree, but most people, even non-Olympiacos fans, agree with me. He is Greece's best player, and he is fantastic. He, even after coming back from his injury, he's just become the player he was before that. He's got some great in the words of Brendan Rodgers, great tenacity.
Yeah.
And he is like fantastic, great goal scoring ability, like really, really busy around the pitch. He's just such a great player. I can't, and he's Olympiacos born and bred because he came out of our academy, and I think he briefly went elsewhere, and then we brought him back, and he went on a couple of loans, and then he started to come back in the squad, and he's just sort of the epitome of the love of all the fans for Olympiacos, because he's an Olympiacos fan as well, so he's seen as like one of our next great players, and he's already a legend at the club in a sense.
Shout out to Curtis Shaw, massive Arsenal fan, and
I imagine that's a statement, not a question.
Yeah, you see Olympiacos in the Europe League on Thursday. Before you do go, shout out to Curtis as well. Make sure everyone subscribes. Massive Arsenal fan. He's doing fantastic, Curtis Shaw. So everyone, make sure you do subscribe to my boy Curtis Shaw, massive Arsenal fan. But sorry, Curtis, I'm not going to say I want Olympiacos to win. And get out of there, Curtis. I do apologise. You might hate me for this, but I want Olympiacos to win, because I'm not going to lie. Like when I went to Olympiacos for the friendly, I thought fantastic city, great fans, and it was weird because, like I said, I've been a YouTuber for like 3 or 4 years, yeah, and people knew who I was. And I remember I did an interview with who's the main Greek channel in Greece?
The main one is, I believe it's Nova Sports.
That's it. That's what I did an interview with.
Oh wow, you got to talk to them. Amazing.
It was amazing. It was actually, I think I was in Olympiacos and I was in Athens, and on that, I think it was a day afterwards, said they wanted to interview me. I'll send you the link. It was mad.
Yeah, all right. I definitely.
It was mad. I think it was me and myself, my friend Craig, and they said they wanted to know about Forest, about my channel, and about Marinakis, and it was mad. I absolutely loved it. But people like, if people do want to watch it, the link is below, and there's a little link as well of people can watch the link, because there's a fantastic opportunity for me to go there. Stephen, before you do go, I know, like I said, you're on Twitter, and who do you work for? Do you know?
So I currently don't work for anyone, but when it comes to contributing, I contribute to the Hellas football. We specialize in distributing Greek football media in English, because there aren't a lot of mainstream outlets that necessarily do that, and there's a lot of Greeks that live outside of Greece and Cyprus who speak English. I think there's a saying. There in every corner of the globe there is a Greek or something like that, yeah. And it's probably true. But yeah, so we try and do that. Like, we try and give latest updates when it comes to the Greek Super League, when it comes to the Greek Super League 2. We talk about Greek footballers who play abroad, you know, like the likes of Manolas, you know, and those kind of players. And we also talk about the national team. A lot of us support different teams like Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, you know, all the big teams, and even some lesser known teams. Yeah. And we have a weekly podcast as well, that you can find on Spotify, on Apple Music, and I believe on Anchor as well. And yeah, we just do our best to distribute a Greek football in English, because, like I said, there's not a lot out there, and we do our best. We have a good laugh over it. It's just a good, nice group of guys. And I normally do a weekly blog, mostly on Olympiacos, but sometimes on the Greek national team as well. And yeah, I have a lot of fun doing it. It's kept me busy over lockdown. Sure.
You know what? This kind of thing has kept me occupied, doing interviews like yourself, interviewing like watch-alongs as well. So people, if you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. But Stephen, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, man,
for coming on my channel. And like I said, this is Stephen, Olympiacos fan, and hopefully I can see you again on my channel, because we do like. We want, like I said, Olympiacos is a great place to go to, and it'd be like good if Olympiacos did come to Forest, then we could meet up.
Oh, mate, if that happened, I would love that. Yeah, for sure.
That will happen. I think if Marinakis still stays at Forest and Forest win the Premiership, 1,000%, that will happen,
mate. Well, next chance we get and it's played up at your ground, we'll definitely go there. I'd love to. I've never been to Nottingham Forest ground before, so it'd be a really great
it's
experience.
A lovely place. It's a lovely
I'll get
place.
a scarf. I love getting scarves of all the different like clubs I go visit in terms of stadiums and stuff.
You know what? I should have worn. I've got Olympiacos top as well, and I should have wore that. I should have wore it. But,
sorry, mate. Even I haven't worn it, and I support Olympiacos.
but yeah, 28 people in. But yeah, it's been a fantastic time to come on my channel, Stephen. But like I said, people, this is Stephen, Olympiacos fan. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button. Like if you are new. As well, before I do go, tomorrow I've got the preview. Tomorrow game against Norwich. That's at 9 o'clock. Watch along as well. That's that we do with Craig Price and Martin Price. Will be doing that. The Chris Bott Williams interview that's coming this week as well. And I'm going to announce it. Well, I've got another Forest interview as well, but I'm not going to say much about that. But yeah, thank you very much, Stephen, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real good. It's been really insightful and a real good laugh as well.
Yeah, it's been a good laugh. But like I said, people, thank you for watching. Up the Forest and up the Olympiacos, and hopefully Olympiacos batter Arsenal.
We'll see. I'm not confident, but I've said it to other Arsenal fans that I've spoken to. Never underestimate us, because anything can happen.
But like I said, thank you for watching, people, and I'll see you tomorrow on preview. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Cheers.